Finding your purpose. To summarize, the verse went like this. I'll chant it for you, just listen. Karma nevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhu ma te sangostu karmani. So, chapter 2, verse 47. Yeah. Now, to summarize, finding your purpose. What is it that Lord Krishna is saying in this verse? What is he saying that we should be doing in life? It's not a mundane job. It's not becoming a baseball player. It's not becoming a video game addict. What is it? Karmani eva adhikaraste. Lord Krishna is saying your main duty is to do what? Karma, or action, or work. But what kind of work? Inspired work. And we know the word for that. Swadharma. Isn't that right? Now the Swadharma, the purpose of each of us on earth is different from person to person. Right? And we always give the analogy. Just like the tree that is planted by the farmer. Each tree is of a different purpose. Is that true? Farmer will never plant a tree that is useless. He will plant either an apple tree, cherry tree, mango tree, for giving their own type of fruits. Isn't that right? So, when Lord Krishna says work, he's saying work along the lines of finding your purpose first of all. Now, how you find your purpose is totally up to you. But there are two important things that come out of your purpose in life. And these are the two things that you must keep in mind when identifying what possibly can be your purpose. Number one, it's good for you. It helps you grow as a person. It develops you as a person. Number two, it's good for the society or the common good of the community, society, or world. Right? So if you identify this thing, and it could be very simple. It could be singing. It could be dancing. It can be something professional that just helps everyone. Whatever it is, when you find that, it gives you something called Chitta Shuddhi and Chitta Ekagrata. Does anybody remember what those two words mean? Chitta Shuddhi. Chitta, who can tell me what Chitta means? The mind. Now Shuddhi means purity. Chitta Shuddhi therefore means purity of mind. But purity of mind doesn't mean not having impure thought. No, that's not purity of mind. So, Chitta Shuddhi. Purity of thought means the ability for your mind never to be agitated. Right? When you have a desire in mind, what's the first thing that happens? Agitation comes. Isn't that true? Whenever desire creeps in your mind, know that it's like throwing a pebble into a pond that's calm. What does it do? It totally makes a disturbance or ripple effect in that pond. Similarly, when a desire comes into our mind and it disturbs the equilibrium of our mind, right? This is what is causing agitation in our minds. As a matter of fact, in Hinduism, we say that agitations come of sixfold. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moh, Mad, Matsarya. Lust, anger, greed, attachment, false pride, and jealousy. All of these things, as we saw before, come from a desire. Isn't that true? If I desire something, right, and I don't get it, what happens? Anger. If I get it, what happens? Lobha. I don't want anybody else to have a part of that. This is agitation. So when we find our purpose, we actually become selfless. Why? Because we're not only serving ourselves, but we're serving the society. The journalist goes to school, studies, right? Helps herself because she enjoys it, but makes news possible for the entire world. So this can be a Swadharma. It can be or can't if you enjoy it. That's the thing. Swadharma, you must enjoy fully. You can't lay in your bed in the morning. You can't be like that. You have to be like, yes, Monday, tomorrow. I can't wait. That's your Swadharma. Now, the question is, how many of us feel like that in this room? But understand that when you feel energetic about what you do, when you feel passionate about what you do, when you just feel natural doing it, right? It comes so natural to you, like when you put a duck in water, how it swims, and you're helping everyone and helping yourself. Know that to be Swadharma. That brings you to Chitta Shuddhi, purity of mind, the ability to be fulfilled for a longer period of time. Understand, if I have an object in front of me, and I gave this example last time, chocolate cake is in front of me, right? I eat that chocolate cake. How do I feel for 2 minutes? I feel happy, isn't that true? For 2 minutes, I feel happy while that chocolate cake is going down, the whole process of eating it, using the apparatus of my, peristalsis and all of the, what's it called, the esophagus and everything. When it goes down, it takes about 2 minutes, right? When that is going on, how is the taste buds? Taste buds are ecstatic, right? Anand, do you just want to let me just... Thanks, Anand. The taste buds are ecstatic. And you are experiencing what? Joy, isn't that true? But how long is that joy for? A minute, 2. Now liken that to your Swadharma. Can that ever compare to doing something that you love and getting an elongated feeling of happiness from that? Can that ever compare? Because what happens when you finish the chocolate cake? You're ready for another piece. Or your mind is ready to go for another thing that it's ready to enjoy. Isn't that true? But when you are operating based on your Swadharma, what happens? A sense of fulfillment comes into your life. You see the difference? Objects, people, things in our life, they'll bring us success. Success. I feel comfy and happy with the things in my life right now. But as we know in Vedanta, nothing is what? Permanent. Everything is of a temporary nature. Maybe for one day, maybe for a few seconds, maybe for a few years, few hundred years. But guess what? One day it will go. It will end. So the fulfillment that you get, and not really success, maybe success comes with it, but the fulfillment that you feel, that actually pacifies your mind. The mind is never agitated after that. It may be, or it may not be. But most of the time, it won't be. Right? Because you found that thing you love. And you're doing it for an hour, 2 hours a day. Or even, if you're lucky enough, every day of the week. Imagine, and here's a hypothetical thing, because it doesn't happen to all of us. Imagine if you can do that one thing. And for those of you who love to do something, think about that one thing you love to do. And it could be selfish, or it could be something that helps the world. But think of that thing, and think of the fact that you were able to do that every day of the week. How would you feel? How would you feel? Won't you feel great? Won't you feel like every day is a gift? Wouldn't you start feeling everything you've been told from day one? That every day should be a gift, unwrap it, and you should make the most of every day. The reason we're not making the most of every day is because we're not doing the thing we want to do in life. That's the bottom line. And as a matter of fact, we can't wait till Friday comes. So, people who are not doing their Swadharma, or haven't been introduced to the concept of Swadharma, guess what they're doing? They're looking for the next Friday, and the next Friday, and the next Friday. But guess what? One day, the ultimate next Friday is going to come. And then it'll be time to start over again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Oh, I got accepted into NYU. How many times has that happened before? Those of you who think this is the first time you are on earth, raise your hand. It's okay if you believe it. No. And you guys are obviously in the right place. Because the soul that we have has been reincarnated many of times. Right? Why? Because of the wrong habitual tendencies that we've been harboring from time immemorial. The same agitations that we have today, the same feelings of frustration, the same feelings of stress and not liking what I do in life, and the subsequent damage spiritually it does to us, guess what? It's been happening since the beginning of time. And it just so happens we're at this point of time. And guess what? It's going to continue to happen. unless we do something about it. The first step, Lord Krishna tells us, in finding this, in getting out of this vicious cycle, this vicious wheel of birth and death, is finding your swadharma. Do you see the importance? So once you find that, you're elongated, you're happy, yeah, you're elated for a longer period of time. That brings you the ability to ask yourself the 3 questions that we know. Who am I? Where have I come from? And where am I going? If I'm a lawyer and I do law every day and I hate it, and then one fine day I die, I may have a big bank account, but am I taking that money with me at the end? No. What will I take at the end of the journey of life? Either the amount of fulfillment that I had, or the disappointment because I was not fulfilled in this life. And guess what? You know how some people come into this world, they're born mentally scarred, they don't know why. Why they're agitated, they can't figure it out. Because they had a traumatic previous life that ended in such a way. It's the simple truth. When I was in India, I spoke to a past life regressionist. I don't know if I told you this story. And she tells me her job is to hypnotize people and see where they went wrong in their past life. And help them go back to that point of time and fix it then. Pacify them then through meetings, a series of meetings. And then, lo and behold, in this birth, it's gone. Whatever was agitating them, whatever was holding them back, guess what? It was fixed and they were free. So things are carried forward. But we have to ask ourselves the question, how much more time are we going to waste? It's good. Going to school is good. Secular education, no doubt. Hinduism advocates being wealthy. Why? Because only the wealthy man can pray effectively and find himself. You see? As I said before, the agitated man can never do that. Think about it. If you're busy going paycheck to paycheck and you can't pay your mortgage and the children don't have food on the table, can a man like that ever say, who am I, where am I going, where? As a matter of fact, that man, right, because he's in such a state, he will never get out of that thinking, that erroneous thinking, that this is all there is to life. But the person who is not agitated, because he has the affordability, he has the means, notice I'm not saying goal, he has the means of wealth, that man alone can allocate enough time to find himself one day. Okay? So chitta shuddhi, the ability not to be agitated in the mind. Then chitta ekagrata is the second thing that comes out of your relative swadharma. Relative swadharma means your purpose on earth. Mind you, take note of this, right? Mental note. Or those of you who are writing it down, that's good too. Relative. That brings you happiness for a longer period of time, and it brings you the ability to focus. Isn't that true? When you're doing that thing you love. Say you love to play guitar, or you love to sing, right? How are you when you do that? Aminta's a very good singer. How are you when you sing? Don't you focus on what you're doing? Aren't you in the moment? That's what Swadharma does. It takes you away from all of the nonsense that's happening around you, cuts all of that out, right? And allows you to focus here in the present moment. So when you combine happiness for yourself and happiness that you're bringing to everyone, plus the ability to have no agitations in the mind, plus the ability to focus and be in the present, what do you get? Ma phaleshu kadachana mate karma ma karma phala hetur buhu mate sango astu karmani. Then you get the ability never to look for anything external as a reward ever again. Understand the thought flow. When you find that thing you love, you gain peace of mind. Therefore, desires are lessened. Isn't that true? The only reason why we desire things is because we're unfulfilled. That's the truth. Because there's a void in us, we go searching for X, that iPhone 6, we need to be happy. We need a person with us to be happy. We need that with us, this, 5 cars in the garage. Because there's a void. And you know, when we accomplish all these things, ask anyone who has. And they'll tell you, I'm still not happy. I'm searching still. Even the owner of this office, right? I had a conversation with him. Not happy. He's still looking. You see? This is the state we have to avoid. And you know what we spend our entire life going for? Just testing it out. Seeing if I do accomplish that, how I'm going to feel. But guess how old you are by the time that happens? 60 plus? 70? 60 is still young. 70 is still young. 80, 90, it's too late. Nowadays, the lifespan of a human being is what? In New York? 83. 83?
81 for women, 78 for men.
81 for women, 78 for men. That, imagine. And I gave this example before, didn't I? Say you have 100 years of life, okay? How much of that time are you sleeping? A third. Roughly a third of it, huh?
Yeah.
So, right off the bat, 33.33 years are gone. How much of that time is lost in play? In parties and worldly things? Maybe until 50. 50? Adolescents going up to 50. People 50-year-olds are still out there. Right? Some of them out there. But they're lost. And then they come to the realization, oh my God, the answers are in here. I never even opened this Bhagavad Gita. I always had it on my altar. And all we did was an RT to it. Yeah? By the time they're 55, they realize this. So 55 minus 66 is what? And the reason why we're born is not to gain material things. That's a byproduct. That's a means. The reason why we're born is simply to escape this game that we are playing with ourselves. Because in Vedanta, you'll see that God alone is there. God alone is the actor. God alone is the screen. God alone is everywhere. But it is the senses that are fooling us into thinking what is around us is reality. And how is that possible? If you drill down, you see the body. Drill down further, the mind. Drill down further, the intellect. Drill down further. What is that thing that allows you to see all of these things? What is that power that allows the mind even to function, allows you even to be conscious of anything? That is the soul. Or the Atman. Actually, the Atman is what even lets you see the soul. Because as we'll see and we saw before, the soul has 17 components. 5 senses, the faculty of the senses. 5 organs of action. 5 prana. And mind and intellect. This is the soul. This is what leaves at the time of death and assumes another body. What is that plane? What is that thing that allows even the soul to function? That is you. So if we say a vital component of the soul is the mind, that aspect of me that even allows me to see my thoughts, right? Without that, there's no thought. And we saw in the last class, didn't we? You have the white screen, right? The white screen in the movie theater. And you have the projecting equipment. Isn't that true? The projecting equipment is the mind. That blank screen, right? That is essential for anything to be projected. That is the God principle within you. That is called Brahman. That is called Atman. That is called the Self. Without that, nothing can be projected on that screen of the mind. As a matter of fact, everything is projected on top of that. You guys understand the concept? You understand? So our life's purpose is to set ourselves up in such a way that we can understand one day that we are nothing but the screen. We're not the mind, we're not the intellect, we're not the projecting equipment. The mind and intellect and senses, these things are the projecting equipment. What we really are is the white, immaculate, untouched screen. Before the movie, the screen is there. Isn't that true? While the movie's there, all the acting, all the crying, all the drama, all the depression, all the sadness, all the anxiety, all the happiness, it's going on the screen. Isn't that true? When the movie's over, what is there?
It's nothing.
The screen alone. That screen is the reality which everything is thrusted upon. That's what Vedanta says you are. Do you see the power of you? Okay. So that's the review. That's basically, in a nutshell, the result of finding your purpose. You gain enough peace of mind, enough inner tranquility to one day achieve that. How does one achieve that? 3 ways. Shravana, we went over this. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravana means listening to the injunctions of the scripture. Manana means to churn the information. We're told we're the movie screen. We're told we're Brahman, right? But some of us don't believe that. After this class, some of us may go into the mirror, in front of the mirror, and say, "You, Brahman?" That's a joke. Some of us may say that because of the type of people we think ourselves to be. Unfortunately, some of us think low of ourselves. And we say we never could be that. But even the criminal, guess what power is even behind that? Principle of God. That same God, that same Brahman, is the driving force behind the criminal mind and the saintly mind. And guess what? Both of them, hand in hand, must coexist in this world for it to proceed. In an atom, you have an atom, right? Have you ever seen an atom that had only a positive charge in it? Have you ever seen that atom? I've never seen that. Atoms usually have positive plus negative. That's the only way an atom can be. Isn't that true? I'm not a chemistry major, so if I'm wrong, let me know. But isn't it true that there must be protons and neutrons and electrons?
Yeah, but it can be like a balance towards positive or negative.
Correct. So that must be there.
Yeah, I mean, like it can be overall positive.
It's not in equilibrium, so it's an ion.
Yeah.
But-
It's an unstable ion.
Yeah.
Yes, but there's still negative and positives, right?
So it does need the negative to make it stable.
Exactly.
And
That's what I'm
equilibrium.
saying. That's what I was getting at. See, I'm not a major. That's why. But what I was trying to get at is that point. There must be a negative and a positive to make a stable atom. That's what I'm trying to get at. Okay? So in this world, there is a natural progression for people because of their minds, because of their nature, to go one direction and for some to go another. Think of your own families for a second. Some people, and I'm not saying that this happens in your family, but some people in the family, they're naturally inclined to spirituality, naturally inclined to going to the mandir, to praying and being at peace. Now that person has a twin brother. That person, all he thinks about is ways to have fun, eat, drink, be merry, and do all kinds of illegal things to make him happy. How do you figure that? This is due to Prakriti, which we'll be studying after, yes. It's called Triguna, but it's deeper than that. This is actually another way of answering that question, how Maya affects our actions. Based on the inner nature of the mind. But then go back to the root of that. What is that power that's even allowing that to be manifested in our life? Good and bad. That power is simply the self or Atma, which we must in this birth itself realize. Or else, guess what? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P. Again, that's how it happens. Okay? So, ma karma phala hetu mate sangostu karmani. And do not let for a second, do not let your hankering for a reward, right, affect you in the present moment. Whether they come or they don't come, that should never affect you in your work that you have to do today. Whether you get compensated or you don't, that shouldn't affect you. That's what Lord Krishna is saying. But understand this. Being that the Lord is ultimately in charge, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham, I said it in the last class. He has made the guarantee that if you do something noble, you are automatically going to be compensated for it. But what do we have to have? Remember the word, anybody? Starts with an S. Faith or Shraddha. 100% conviction that this is what I am ordained to do, and my Lord has ordained it for me. And who is God? God is simply that being that is unfathomable. That blank screen is God. But while we're associated with Maya, or this world, God is called Ishvara. And He is called the Karma Phala Data. He gives the results of our actions. So when we are noble, when we do the right thing, that Karma Phala Data, the giver of the fruits of our actions, He makes certain that we get it. Those people who act conversely to what's expected of them, they too get fruits, but they're very sour. Right? So the person who did you wrong in life, don't feel that you have to go after them. As a matter of fact, you keep carrying on your way. Guess what's going to happen one day? Because of that karma phala data, they will get what's meant for them, and you will get what's meant for you at the end of the day. No need to fight. Life is not about fighting. It's not about agitations. It's not about getting involved in anything. Life is about doing your duty, what you are meant to do in life. Okay? So therefore, never look to the future, or else you're just doing a job. Do what you love. Do something on the side if you have to bring you an income, that's fine. But understand that isn't your purpose. That's just a means. The purpose is to get you to your goal of life. Now, let us look at a section that's very interesting. And here's where we change gears. And we go to see now, how is that person that has found their purpose? How is that person who has went through the process? How is such a person who has realized this self? What is he like? What does he do that's different from us, if anything? Lord Krishna tells Arjuna in this beautiful verse. So repeat after me if you can, okay? So it's chapter 2, verse 54. If you have your iPhones, you may find it there. Chapter 2, verse 54. This section is called Sthita Prajna Lakshana. Can you say these three words for me? Sthita.
Sthita.
Prajna. Lakshana. Sthita means the one who abides. The one who abides, who is firm. Firm in what? Prajna. Prajna means consciousness. Prajna also means the intellect. But in this case, it means the self, the Atma. When one has found himself to be that, through a period of non-agitation, through single-pointed focus, through doing what he loves and understanding that he has to channel that to finding himself, right? Because we saw the case of Robin Williams, right? Why did he realize himself? Because he had no goal other than acquiring material things. This is what happens to many people who are in that spotlight in Hollywood. They start off very innocent, but then they want everything as a result of what they've done. They want that money, they want those cars, and if something goes wrong, guess what happens? It throws them out of balance, and they do the most unthinkable things. But if you have something to work towards, which is higher than yourself, which is better for you and the world, and what will naturally free you from the agitations of the mind, when you work towards this thing, all of your energy and all of your power and all of your focus goes into this after you've built up enough happiness within. So how is that person who has done this? Repeat after me.
What verse was it?
Chapter 2, verse 54. Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha.
Sthita prajna tavasya.
Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha. Samadhi samadhistasya keshava. Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava. Very good. Sthitadi kim prabhasheta. Sthitadi kim prabhasheta. Kimasita vrajeta kim. So here is what Arjuna is telling. Arjuna is telling Krishna. Actually, he's asking Krishna questions. So you've told me all of these things on how I should be. As a matter of fact, there are two important ways to realization. Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is in there too, but we'll take that when it comes. Karma and Jnana Yoga. Okay? Karma is realizing the self through your selfless deeds by way of what? Swadharma. Now, there's another way. Jnana Yoga, or the path of knowledge. It's called Sankhya in this Bhagavad Gita. But Sankhya means something different in one of the 6 schools of Hindu thought. Sankhya Yoga means simply realizing that you're the self. So if I tell you, Ashwin, you know what? You are the self. And you gain realization just like that, know that you have done Karma Yoga in your past life. In this life itself, you've understood that this is my purpose, and you realize right away. In our Shastra, in our Puranas, this happens to a couple of people. Right? Where they were just told that Bhavan Brahmasti, that you are Brahman, you are the self, and nothing more is needed. They realized and they escaped the wheel of birth and death. They realized just by thinking of it through the way of intellect, not for a very long time, but they've done the tapas, or they've done the abhyas, or they've done the practice in previous births. The culmination of Karma Yoga, or finding your Swadharma, is this. Understanding that the essence of me is God. Just like now, we all believe, because we're at the mental level, we all believe, I'm a speaker, I'm a man, I'm X amount of years, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor. This is our thought right now, isn't that true? If I ask you, Prue, what are you? You're going to say I'm a woman, isn't that true? The person who has realized the self, guess what? He doesn't see man, woman, lawyer, doctor. He may be those things. But what does he see? What does he believe like we believe we're men and women? Aham Brahmasmi, or I am the self. He sees no other thing, as a matter of fact, except that. You understand? Whereas I look myself in the mirror, or I don't even need to look in the mirror. I know I'm a man. That person of realization, he knows he's the essence of this body. And you know where that puts him? That puts him on such a level of happiness that is indescribable. Only a person in this state can know that happiness. It's like me giving you sugar. I eat sugar and I tell you how sugar tastes. I'm like, so good. But how will you ever know that? How will you know? By tasting it yourself. This is the incentive that is given in our Shastras. The bliss that we entertain, that we get from realizing that we are indeed the self, they say that bliss is about 100 million times the ultimate bliss of any earthly object or thing. Think about that thing that you love to do again. Or that thing that makes you happy, that BMW. When I drive that boy, there's no other feeling in the world. Think about how happy you feel then. Now multiply that by 100 million. And this class, hopefully, will study the Taitra Upanishad. And in this Upanishad, you see all of these texts that we're doing now in Bhagavad Gita, all of these things are preparation for higher Upanishadic studies, which we will do in this class. But the Taitra Upanishad says that the Ananda that is gained, your name's Ananda, right? That is gained from realizing the self, doing what it takes to realize that self, that Ananda is 100 million times greater than any earthly joy that you may have entertained in life. You see? So if that's not an incentive to realize the self, I don't know what is. What is? And it's indeed a blessing that we've actually been introduced to such a great text like the Bhagavad Gita. Lucid, very simple, but so ghera, so deep, beyond comprehension sometimes. So, what did Arjuna say to Krishna? Stita prajnasya ka bhasha. Stita prajnasya means of the stita prajna, of that person who is abided in the self, who knows himself to be Atman, who knows himself to be Brahman. Ka bhasha. What is the description of such a person? Arjuna is intrigued. You see, Lord Krishna is very smart, very clever. We know him as a child. Any which way, hook or by crook, he would get that butter. Isn't that true? And as a matter of fact, they would catch him stealing that thing. And guess what? No one really could be mad at him. He was that clever. When he became an adult and he's talking to his best friend Lord Krishna, guess what? He used that same cleverness to win over Arjuna. Because Arjuna was in such a state of despondency, of despair, of sadness, fighting on the battlefield that we fight every day. Kurukshetra is Manhattan for us. We fight this battle every day. But you know what's going to save us? How we fight this battle. That's what's going to save us. Ka bhasha, what is description? What does he do? Samadhi tasya keshava. Tell me the description of this person in samadhi. Samadhi is a very important word. Sama adhiyate. The person who has abided or focused on himself. Tell me how this person, stita dhi kim prabhasheta. How does this person speak? Tell me how he speaks. Kim asit. How does he sit? Brajet kim. And how does he walk? You see the questions Arjuna is asking now? Before he could care less about realizing the self. I have this war to fight, buddy. I don't have time for scripture. Right? This is what happened to Narad. Remember I gave this example on Ram Navami? Narad Muni, when he saw Mohini, the background of the story I'll tell you another time. But to keep a long story short, Narad Muni saw a beautiful girl one day and forgot all about Vishnu. You know how Narad Muni is always like, Narayana, Narayana, right? One day he saw Vishwa Mohini, who was Vishnu himself trying to test Narad. He saw him. He saw Vishwa Mohini, which was the most beautiful girl in the world. And you know what he did? He went straight to Vishnu again. See, Vishnu can be anybody. He can take the form of anyone, and this is the power of God. So he went to Vishnu, and he said, listen, I know I've done all my tapas. Every day I chant your name. There's no time for chanting your name. There's no time for meditation. Just find me, give me a way to get that girl. That's what he went to Vishnu and said. You see? So this is an example how the mind gets taken away easily. But how is this man of realization? Arjuna's mind was just like Narad's, swept away. But after he became a victim of some depression, of some sadness in life, he started thinking to himself, what is really the reality of this? Lord Krishna must be right. So after Krishna tells there are two main ways, Bhakti Yoga we'll see, very important way as well, but two main ways, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga. Lord Krishna wasn't going to tell Arjuna that Tvam Brahmasti, that you are Brahman, because Arjuna wouldn't have gotten it. What did he want Arjuna to do? He wanted him to fight the battle. And this battle was Arjuna's Swadharma. So from this point now, Arjuna gains enough clarity, peace of mind, focus, to one day do what? Realize that he's not a man, but realize that he is God himself. Krishna is talking to Krishna. That's it. So, Sthitta Prajnasya Ka Bhasha Samadhi Tasya Keshava. What is the description of such a man? Stitadhi kim prabhashet. How does he speak? Kim asit brajet kim. How does he sit? How does he move? You see? And what is the first answer given by Lord Krishna? So here's where it gets really interesting. Prajahati yada kaman. Prajahati yada kaman. Sarvan partha manogatan. Prajahati yada kaman. Sarvan partha manogatan. Atmanyevatmana tushtaha. Atmanyevatmana tushtaha. Stita prajnastadochate. Very good. So, Lord Krishna, Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the Lord answered him. What did he say? Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. When a man completely sheds any idea of selfish desires in his mind, right? Know this type of mind to be that of a sthita prajna. Someone who has found complete happiness where? In external objects and things? Right here. Going back to my point. The richest man in the world. Do you know Phil Jackson, by the way? He was the coach of the Chicago Bulls. And he won all those championships with the Bulls. And he's the president of the New York Knicks right now. He is deep into Bhagavad Gita. Did you know? I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that.
Yes. He's deep into Hindu philosophy. And you know what he says? He says, even though I won all of these championships, in retrospect, they mean absolutely nothing. As a matter of fact, my big house that I have in LA and the big thing I have in skyscraper in Manhattan, guess what I really consider that to be for me? 2 big headstones. Because I asked myself, what am I going to do by just sitting in that home? That itself doesn't even bring me any fulfillment. I thought acquiring these things would. But the reality of it is it didn't. But you know what he realized very quickly through this? He realized that those things were simply the means for a higher goal that I have to accomplish. And you know that man, Phil Jackson, makes time every day to meditate and calm his mind so he can too get to this state, sthita prajna. The one who abides in the self, the one who abides in the intellect. Because realization of the self doesn't take place in the mind. The mind is riddled with desires. Another name for the mind should be desire dham. Kamadam. That's a nice name for a temple. Kamadam. Right? That is the nature of the mind. Full of desire. But what is the thing that takes us away and tells us, wait a minute, wait, you shouldn't go for that. Dangerous. What is that thing? Intellect. Isn't that true? Realization of your true nature and who you really are takes place there and there alone. So the person who repeats, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahma, I am Brahman, I am Brahman, I am Brahman, and has no doubt about it, guess where that realization takes place? Not in the mind, but in the intellect, which supersedes the mind. The intellect is kind of an override. The intellect is your conscience. Okay? So the realization of the self takes place there. So when a man completely casts off all desires of the mind, right? And what else? Atmani eva atmana tushtaha. This is very important. In the self and by the self, he is what? Tushtaha. Tushtaha means santushtaha. Santosh means happy, content. What has made him content? In the self, he has become content. Meaning, knowing his true nature, it has brought him that ultimate bliss of satisfaction that he couldn't get anywhere else. From doing my swadharma, from doing my purpose in life, I gain enough happiness within me, right, to discover that I am happiness itself. As I said before, think about the last time you enjoyed something. Say you like coffee, right? In New York they say coffee. Say you like coffee, right? You drink that coffee and you love coffee, yeah? Where's the happiness coming from? Is the happiness coming from the coffee? Or is the happiness coming from you? Think of the last time you had an ice cream. Right? You enjoyed the ice cream, isn't that true? When you felt that happiness, is it in the ice cream? No. Because according to the law of diminishing returns, the more you consume an object, what happens? The more you are turned off by that. This is the truth. This is human psychology. That's why Bhagavad Gita, I think, should have been one of the. It could be a thesis for anybody's psychology PhD. I think, right? They just have to plagiarize a lot. The law of diminishing returns is in every single object that we consume. But what is the only thing that will never diminish? What is the only happiness we will never get enough of? It's the happiness of us. Because what is the one thing that we love the most? And be honest. It's you, isn't that true? Some people say, I don't like myself. I hate myself. So you know when people told me that? I'm like, how dare you say that? You go to work every day, don't you? They say, yes. I don't like my job, but I go to work. Okay, you don't like your job. You're going to work. What do you get at the end of the month? Get a paycheck. Duh. That's why I go to work. So, paycheck. Good. What do you do with that paycheck? I take it to the bank. Okay. What do you do from time to time? I go on vacation. Okay. When you go on vacation, how do you feel? I feel happy. Okay. Why do you want happiness? Because you love yourself, that's why. And I fill the rest in for them. And they're like, wait a minute, you're right. I do love myself. Because if I didn't love myself, I would never do these things for myself. Isn't that true? Anything in life that we do, know that it is geared because you love yourself first. It may seem selfish, but you know what? As I said before, life is an individual journey. When the individual is happy, only then can he make another person happy. Understand that point. If I'm miserable as a person, you think I can make another person happy? As a matter of fact, that person won't want to see my face after 5 days. But only when the person is content with who he or she is, or loves himself and has clarity that happiness is me, guess what's going to happen to the people around him? They are naturally going to be not only attracted, but they are going to be happy too. Do you see? So, Atmani eva Atmana tushtaha. Such a person doesn't care about worldly. He may have the world around him, or he may not have the world around him. But that person is content knowing that the happiness that that object brought me is coming from me only. So what did he do? He spent time in solitude. He spent time in quiet, trying to cultivate that up to the point where he can say, yes, I am happiness. I am happiness. That statement is equal. If I had a chalkboard here, I would write, I am happiness equals, I am God in essence equals, I am Brahman equals, I am Atman equals, I am perennial happiness.
Equals I am chocolate cake.
No.
No.
Chocolate cake is the opposite. Temporary. I am perennial. Everlasting happiness. Do you see the difference? Whereas the world is busy running after things that they think will make them happy, but at the end of the day will leave them one day. It is the truth, whether it be tomorrow, 500 years from now. And it's not a pessimistic view. Vedanta tells you as it is. That's why some people don't like Vedanta. Because it says the reality of the situation. A lot of people like to hear only good things. That, yes, it will. You know, when people go, some people in our community will go for open book, they call it. They go to read, but what's it called? Patra. Right? The scripture that will tell them how my life, horoscopes. You know, they only ask the priest to tell them the good things. Don't tell me the bad things you don't. Tell me only the good things that I have. People are like that. People don't like to take their heads out of the sand and know that they have to change some aspects of their life to be happy first. This is the mistake many of us make. Okay? So, Atmani eva Atmana. Be happy in the self. When you realize the self, he derives no other joy. Atmana. By the self. So he's in the self, he knows he's the self. Atmana. The bliss that comes from knowing that he's the self. He revels in that also. Stita prajnaha tada uchyate. This person is called the Stita Prajna. Okay, so what were the two things? Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. He casts away all desires for worldly things. Hinduism doesn't say give away everything. Some people think renunciation or becoming a swami means you have to give away everything. You have to give away a nice bed, you have to give away your house, give away your clothes. In the course that I took in India, right? When you take that course, then a popular direction to go is becoming a swami of the mission. Right? That's a decision that you have to take as an individual. So they give you 10 years to think about it. And they say after 10 years of service, you can either become a swami or do whatever you want. Right? But you know what some people think? When I go into this course now, I should start giving away all my clothes, giving away my house, my car, give it all away. But you know what they tell you in the course? That's not what sannyas is. Sannyas means give away. But what are you giving up? You're giving up your ego. You're giving up that part of you that is attached to every single thing and object in this world. Now, when I say attached, I don't mean the good kind of attachment, like love. I mean attachment that is dangerous. Attachment meaning that the person next to me can't go anywhere no matter what. Even if that thing's good for you, you can't go nowhere. The attachment to my car, thinking that it's going to last forever. The attachment to my child, thinking my child is going to be in my possession forever. These kind of things are detrimental to all of your growth in life. This kind of attachment, you give up. Understanding that the natural progression of things in life is that of change and temporariness. Give this up and you are a sannyasi. You don't have to wear orange clothes and a mala. No. Don't have to. Sannyas, ashram is here. It's not in your clothes. Okay? When you have to, you wear it. Tradition, you have to. Like when I go to a temple, I dress appropriately. I have to. It's a tradition. People must see that. But, according to the song by Kabir Das, right? Color your mind and not your clothes. The clothes is a symbol of what your mind is reflecting. You see? So revel in yourself. Atmani. Revel in the happiness that you've cultivated here. By the self, you become happy. Cast away all erroneous thought that desires will make me happy in life. And the accomplishment of these things will make me happy. When they really don't. They're good. Fine. If you want to go for that, do it. Hinduism advocates enjoyment. You should. But be cautious that you should never see permanency in any object that is out there. because of its temporary, fleeting nature.